August 24th, 2013. If you're an Eskimos fan, it's probably one of the worst days you ever experienced. Of course, they were 1-7 at that time, losing that game on that particular day. However, fast forward to August 24th, 2014, they beat the Toronto Argonauts 7-1, a complete reversal from what happened last year. Nairman, you're grinning from ear to ear. You can't even hide it. As an Edmontonian, though, I want to ask you this question: do you think that maybe the schedule hasn't been as hard for them, and that's why it's like this? And if they can, they have back-to-back games, of course, starting with the Labor Day Classic against the Calgary Stampeders, following that at home against those same Stamps. Can they split, sweep? What can they do there?
Okay, yeah. So I know we did discuss this. I am happy to see the team turn it around, of course. I'm not going to hide behind that. Is the schedule a little bit easier for the Eskimos? Yes. Okay, 8 games played, 5 against the East. The East is a joke, pretty much. I understand. But we only lost against Calgary, and I do see us splitting. I don't see us sweeping the Labor Day Classic at all. I do see a split, though. Whether or not we win it at home or on the road, I don't care. But yeah, it's a little bit easier, but you know what? We're rolling and we're getting those like those clutch plays. So I'm not going to complain. There's a lot of people who want to complain, saying, "Oh, the like we talked about, padded their record because of their schedule." But you know what? We still had to play those games. We still took down Winnipeg when they were unbeaten. You know, so we took down BC. Now we just have to take on the next Calgary Stampeders, who I think is going to be
arguably
who I picked to win the Grey Cup.
It's not hard to argue with that.
A little bit, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think more than anything, the Eskimos are, what a difference a year can make. But
coaching,
their coach,
Jones.
you can kind of trigger to Chris, and you kind of, and I hate that word that they use in sports all the time, and they talk about culture, and I think it's overused, but I don't think it's overused in this term. I think there was a bad culture in that room last year, and I don't know if it was from the coaching staff, from whatever, but the culture was awful, and the culture is completely changed now. That culture can change because you're winning too. And
that makes things a lot easier.
Oh, it makes things hugely easier. And I think more than anything, their defense is lights out. I think their offense.
Odell Willis kind of proved that with that play he had last week.
Yeah. So I think in the next 2 weeks, it's a huge test. It could go south. They could lose both. They could win both, or they'd likely get a split. But if they lose both, then they're gonna. The culture is gonna get a bit of a test.
Chris Jones, Coach of the Year, calling it right now. I don't care if we're just halfway through.
Well, we'll see what happens. You have to win a Grey Cup, because apparently that's been the criteria in the CFL. You have to win a Grey Cup in order to be Coach of the Year. But we'll move on to another sport now. In tennis, the U.S. Open started. Of course, good times for Canadians. Milos Raonic winning. Genie Bouchard also doing very well. They're not just the only 2 Canadians in there, Vasek Pospisil being another one. There are a couple others that are in the mix who are just on the rise, in the cusp, very young stars. But out of the main ones we talk about, you have Pospisil, you have Raonic, you have Bouchard. Out of those 3, who's more likely to go the distance a lot further than the others?
Well,
I'm going Raonic.
Yeah, I would go Raonic too, because Bouchard's been struggling lately. Like, she had great Wimbledon, but since then she's trying to find her
maybe
game again.
maybe it was a little bit of fatigue. Maybe she's bounced back.
I'd say, like, she had 2 fantastic semis for, like, the Grand Slam tournament. The thing is, though, maybe this could be a bigger tournament. She does excel better on a bigger stage than she does for the smaller tournament, so maybe this could be her being thrust back into the spotlight and doing something. But I don't know, Raonic has been kind of unstoppable. Not so bad. His last competitor was Federer. Like, that's not too shabby. I'm going to go with Raonic, though.
Yeah, Raonic, his big serve is going to win him a few games in New York, too.
All right, moving on to the Ottawa Senators now. They made some key signings for their team. Of course, you can't win without a goalie. Craig Anderson signed, re-upped for a 3-year extension at $4.2, at least the cap hit per. And then the week before that, they signed, of course, local boy Clark MacArthur to a long-term deal, 5 years. So, guys, out of those 2, who is going to be the more bang for your buck for the Senators down the road?
I have to say Clark. I know he's a local guy. Give him some love, but at the same time, you know what? Just what he adds to that team, and he has played all different roles for the Senators. Penalty kill, power play, you name it, he'll do it for you. Anderson struggled last year, and there was times last season where they kind of, the jury's kind of out on this guy. So I was kind of surprised that they kind of went out on a limb and know that he's going to turn things around. I hope
He's
gonna
known
turn
he's known for that though. You know,
Yeah.
you're notorious for having a great year, then all of a sudden that lull. Now he's on the upswing, right? That's got to be a good
Well,
sign.
you hope he's on the upswing. But I think Clark is a guy that is a leader on that team. He doesn't wear a letter, but he is definitely a leader.
Well, he might be soon enough.
Yeah, with Spets gone. I'm going to go the opposite. I'm going to go Craig Anderson. But I will say this, though. Clark MacArthur is going to pick up a lot because Spets and Hemsky both gone.
Yep.
That's going to have to fill up a big role. So he's going to see a lot of action. But I'm going to go with Craig Anderson on this one because you don't win a championship without it's defense that wins your championship. And who's your last man standing? Craig Anderson. Yes, he struggled last year, but 2 years ago, he was the one that was winning the games for the Senators. And I'd have to say this. Now that you got Craig Anderson, he's got his contract, so he doesn't have to worry about it because I think he was concerned about Robin Leonard taking his position because the backup really stepped up quite nicely. Now you got two goalies who could potentially be number ones competing for that spot. That could only work pretty well for them. They're going to push each other, just like the situation we're going to see in Edmonton. We don't know technically who's going to be the number one in Edmonton. You're going to have both guys pushing each other, and you hope that it's going to excel because not everyone's going to have a workhorse like Jonathan Quick or, well, I was going to say Crawford, but he doesn't really get a lot of respect.
Well, it's more of the.
But
It's still
you're
up for
not
grabs,
going
is
to
what you're
have
getting
a
at.
work exactly. So Ottawa has to work with what they've got, and I think it's going to be a pretty good deal for them.
Very quickly, guys, I want to get to this. Sean Foley, after 4 years splitting up with Tiger Woods, of course, Foley was working with Hunter Mahan. He's the golf swing coach. Was this amicable? Do you think this is going to help Tiger Woods? Because, of course, during that 4-year span, he won minor tournaments, but nothing big enough. Granted 5, but not the majors. Majors are what Tiger's known for, and if he doesn't win them, then it's a failure. Is that fair?
Well, I'm not a great golfer. I'm a terrible golfer. But I think golfing is a lot of more mental over physical. And I think mentally, maybe this move is going to help Woods. Maybe he thinks he's the reason why I'm not playing the way I should. And maybe a new guy in there, different ideas, different set of eyes, different kind of plan. Maybe that's going to work for him.
Well, I let it drag on. If after 4 years you're not happy or you're not seeing the results you want, just cut ties and move on, like you said. Try someone else. Hey, if that doesn't work, maybe then you realize something. But why would you keep it going for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years of nothing?
And it's going to be tough. All right, guys. You haven't given me nothing. You've actually given me something. In return, you guys are going to play over-under. When we come back, we're going to see who wins, either Nairman or Bucky. Stay tuned.